Hello and welcome to Happy Foot Sad Foot, your LAFC gateway drug and the only LAFC podcast recorded on a landline telephone. I'm Travis Helwig.
And I'm Darren Miller. Welcome to our preview of LAFC's first post-Leagues Cup MLS match on Sunday, August 20th at 7:30 p.m. at BMO Stadium. You can watch it on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV Plus, and we'll be live streaming our post-game call-in show 10 minutes after the final whistle at youtube.com/@HappyFootSadFoot. Subscribe now. You can get notified when we go live. And if you enjoy the show and want to help us keep making it, become a friend of the foot by clicking the Patreon link in the show notes, or pick up some Half-O Sappho merch by going to HappyFootSadFootPod.com.
Later in the show, Darren sits down with the sporting director for the Colorado Rapids, Fran Taylor, who is also Darren's childhood friend that grew up to be way more successful than him. And as always, we'll talk about all the storylines for the match and make some bets. But first, the official Toes in the Water segment of Happy Foot Sad Foot, listener-mandated banter. Darren, you wrote that for me. Toes in the water, huh?
You just got to come up with as many foot-related metaphors as possible on this show. It's an important part of the show.
Is it a bad time to say that I think feet kind of creep me out?
Me too. I don't like it whenever it comes up.
Yeah, I like when people are like, send us your feet, and it's like a bit. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't want to do that.
It's hard to stay in the bit because it's like this is gross.
It's funny, like we're gonna get right into it in the banter. The foot fetish thing is funny to me because, like, I wish I had a foot fetish. What a great fetish to have! You see
what
feet
a brand
all
safe
the
fetish.
time. What? No, but like,
that's what I mean.
Just, if like I saw a foot and I was like, that gets me excited. You would be excited all the time. It would be great. Like, why do we call them creeps? They're living the best possible life you could live. You get it. It's like being attracted to like grass. You see it all the time. Yeah, it's just.
Wait, it literally is. It's hands and feet.
Why aren't there hands?
That's so funny. I said that being like, isn't it crazy? It's almost like hands. It's exactly like
same shit. Yeah. Well, we got that out of the way. Darren, how you doing?
Been waiting weeks to go there.
You miss us? You miss us? This is our first preview episode together in a while.
This is the first time we've done listener mandated banter in a while.
Yeah. So I was gone for Juarez.
What was I gone here for? Juarez.
We did Juarez.
Then COVID for Real Salt Lake.
Jeff Talk for Real Salt Lake, and then the Monterey we had to turn around fast, and I did it independent. We didn't get to hang out. What have you been up to?
Yeah. I don't know. Working. What else?
This is real good.
But
you saying working and then long pause is it's just great for podcasts, I think.
Yeah. Well, because when you say working, it's hard to not then pause and like sit in the gravity of the sadness of it.
It's almost like you're a computer who had to tell me that you were doing the work to figure out what the banter was. Working. 1 moment, you were going to say something about your son when I interrupted you. What were you going to say?
Oh, my son started kindergarten this week.
How has that been? So preschool, I know that he went to like an outdoors preschool. Is it a real legit school this time?
That was a better.
Is there a door?
I wish he could do forest school through college. Honestly, I was jealous of him. He got to climb trees at school. Now he's in a building that has, I want to call it a backyard. It's, outdoor. What's the outdoor area of a school called?
A yard.
A yard. Yeah.
We have recess in the schoolyard. The schoolyard.
That just feels so like storybook, like not a real thing you say, but I guess it is a schoolyard.
And what's the school? What's his teacher's name? What hours is he there?
Right. Yeah, let me keep doxing him.
Yeah, doxing your son is
doxing your son. Doxing my son for the pod.
I swatted my son at school. No scarier
Ladies and gentlemen, don't swat your kids. I would love to like invent a problem, like a pandemic, like a epidemic that we're like, there's an issue I really feel strongly about, and there's too many parents out there swatting their kids.
How are you feeling? I know it's scary when your kid goes to school for the first time. He's in elementary school. How are you handling it?
I'm just kind of so far it's fine. He seems to really be enjoying it. So I'm taking it as it comes. It's nice that this school, like, we can walk to it. So Less driving in LA is always, a life-changing situation. I don't know. It's the next thing, You just get
Hmm.
through the next days. The twins are going to the forest school that he went to
Right.
for preschool soon. So
The
we
whatever
still got
that
that.
they're gonna learn the difference between dirt and bugs. They
I mean, yeah.
I was just listening to there's this fucking weird podcast that we recommended. Remember when in listener mandated banter in like the 3 hour long Patreon episode where we recommended podcasts? I recommended something called Desert Oracle, and it's just
I
this
don't even remember
weirdo
that.
who's alone in the desert. He's just a
You
guy who's
did?
like, yeah, he's a weird. It's called Desert Oracle Radio. He lives in Joshua Tree, and he just talks into a microphone for 30 minutes a week, and it's clear that he's like drunk, but he's like spiritual. He talks about aliens and coyotes. He rules. But he was telling a story about how the reason David Oppenheimer, what's Oppenheimer's first name?
Barbie.
What is it? No, so it's
I
not
don't know. I
David
didn't I
Oppenheimer.
didn't watch the movie yet.
Oppenheimer. What's his fucking name? They call him Oppie. All I was gonna say is his father sent him away to an outdoor school in New Mexico because he wasn't tough enough, and that's why they did the atomic bomb in New Mexico. Is that he grew to love New Mexico? This is a lot of banter, Darren. We got to get
Too
into
much
it.
banter.
Let's
Too
start the
much
show.
banter.
We forgot that we keep it tight here.
Yeah, yeah.
We're talking about
All right.
Oppenheimer and foot fetishes and elementary school. That's too much.
This one's getting an explicit tag, just like all the other ones. LAFC is back in league play, which is a phrase I only really understand the meaning of because my friend Travis, the human LAFC crazy wall, spoon feeds me every bit of information I need to know to stay on top of LAFC, MLS, Leagues Cup, and Denny Bouanga's whereabouts throughout the week. As a casual fan and a concerned adult, I politely decline the latter and take in everything else because I have a lot of other things going on in my very full and satisfying life with no regrets or worries whatsoever, and I don't have time to ruin all that in the off chance that Denny Bouanga might someday notice me. But I do have time to digest every storyline and important detail that makes every match matter and more fun to watch, all at once in a segment we call Storylines.
Wow.
Wow.
Haven't heard
Just
that
hearing
song
that,
in a while.
Yeah, just hearing it feels like a win. Like it feels like LAFC won.
I feel like we have to put it on TikTok and have like someone should invent a dance to it that the
Oh,
kids do and they
yeah.
make money.
Yeah.
Darren,
That's going to be really successful 5 years ago.
what if we speed it up?
Let's
Darren,
put it on Musically. Sorry, go ahead.
Darren, how have you been since Kevin Cho cursed LAFC during our live stream? Good.
I've been on the fence. Is it him or is it us?
I
It's one
will
of them.
say he gave us an out because
Yeah, he really
is-
saved us.
yeah. If you haven't seen
He
his
fell on the
video
sword.
about when he came on the show, he basically claimed that he's the reason LAFC lost. Go check out Kevin Cho. As always, Darren, were you happy or sad that Monterrey lost in the Leagues Cup?
That they lost in the Leagues Cup? Oh,
Yeah.
happy. Yes.
Yeah.
And also sad that Nashville won.
Yeah, I feel like normally sometimes when a team beats us, I want them to go on and win the whole thing so we could be like, well, we were only beaten by the best team. But I really wanted them to lose. I was so fucking mad after that game.
Yeah, me too.
I think most of us felt one of two ways after the quarterfinals. Darren, you were either Vince LaRosa and you were proud of how he played for 70 minutes and felt that this is just how watching sports goes. Or you were a Travis Helwig and you immediately started researching the recipe for homemade arsenic. Needless to say, it was an emotional loss with Dolo and the players clearly frustrated as they walked off the pitch. And that brings us to the first storyline of the match against Colorado, which is this. Will the team be angry or shaken? Teams respond to big losses in a bunch of different ways, Darren. After the big loss to Leon in the Champions League, our spirit was broken, and we went on a string of losses to teams we know we're better than. And after a few weeks off, we looked great coming into the Leagues Cup, and we seemed determined and angry to remind everyone why we were still the best team in MLS. Darren, after this big loss to Monterrey, coming into the game against Colorado at home, do you think the team's going to be demoralized by another cup loss, or will they be motivated?
I think we'll be motivated. I think we had some statement wins right before that. and we established that we were kind of back in business. I think that put them in the right spirits to not be so thrown off by that loss. And I think they'll be able to be like, okay, we got this. Because they still played well in that game. That wasn't, they lost and it was devastating, but they didn't.
Despite what any of you weirdos are saying about possession, they played well. We knew we wouldn't have possession. Maybe we wanted a little bit more possession, but shut the fuck up about the possession. That's all anyone wants to talk about.
We're
And we
not even
told
a
you the
possession
game
team.
before. We told you the podcast before. We're not going to have possession. If you listen to us, we're the smartest people. We know everything about soccer.
The smartest ones.
And when I say we told you, I mean Chris Whittingham, a man who came on to tell us about the game. My feeling is, Darren, the team is gonna be motivated because now we have no choice but to be motivated. Not only because there's 12 games left into the playoffs, but because we don't have many other options left to win trophies. It's MLS Cup or bust now, motherfuckers. We punted the Open Cup. We lost the Champions League in the finals. We lost to probably the best team in the League's Cup in the quarterfinals. And Cincinnati has 51 points in the Supporters' Shield race, and we only have 37. We aren't catching up to the Supporters' Shield. However, Darren, that brings us to our second storyline of the match, and I think it may surprise you. And that is this. Can we get to the top 3 in the Supporters' Shield race? Darren, you may be asking, what the fuck? Who cares? Why do we want to be in the top 3? Well, Darren, you're an idiot, and I'm going to tell you. We want to make it to the top 3 because we want to make it to the CONCACAF Champions Cup next year, don't we? The Champions Cup is just like the Champions League, but more teams are involved, so CONCACAF is allowed to make more money. Sounds sick, right? Don't you just love the word Scotiabank?
I love all banks, Travis. So, what about Campeones Cup?
Yeah, we have that at some point. I forgot about that. But that's against Tigres, I think, who is the best team on the continent. They're better than Monterrey, but you know, we'll see how it goes. But listen, the Champions League we'd only get 4 teams in MLS total. A lot more are going to get in this year. And there's a couple of different ways to get in. But let's say worst case scenario, and don't get mad at me for saying this, we don't win MLS Cup this year because playoffs are random and it's hard to win a bunch of games in a row. And we still want to get something out of this season. How do we qualify for what is now called the CONCACAF Champions Cup? 5 different teams qualify just from the MLS season alone, not including Leagues Cup. The MLS Cup winner qualifies, the Supporters' Shield winner qualifies, and the top team from the opposite conference of the Supporters' Shield qualifies. That's what it used to be. But now also, 2 teams who are the 2 best teams across any conference also qualify. So our goal by the end of the season, outside of winning MLS Cup, is to either win the West, which gets us into the Champions Cup, and it's still possible. We're second in the West at 37. We're tied with RSL. In first place is St. Louis at 41. Definitely possible. But even if we can't catch St. Louis, we could still qualify if we get into the top few of the Supporters' Shield race. Currently, we're ranked 6th in the league with 37 points. In front of us, Cincinnati, the runaway favorites with 51, said that. They're followed by New England, who's all the way down at 43. That's not too far from 37, Darren. Already possible for us to catch them. Then St. Louis at 41, Philly at 40, Nashville at 38, and then us. It's waiting for us, baby. We could still get something out of this.
It's right there. Come on.
We can be optimistic for something again.
We did it.
12 games, we can make up those points.
Yeah, we can.
We know we can beat MLS teams. We know we get 12 games, 3 points a game, win 10 of those, we're in the fucking money, baby. Win 8 of those, tie the other 4, we're in the fucking money, baby.
Do more math.
Darren,
more math.
How you feeling about our chances to say the word Scotiabank a bunch next year?
Scotiabank. But this is looking pretty good. Wait, so the new rules, is it possible that you could be the team that loses in the MLS Cup finals and not be one of the teams that gets one of the slots?
Yeah. If you're like the 8th seed and you make it all the way, like if Messi So, well, no, so that doesn't make sense because Miami already got in through Leagues Cup. 3 spots get in through Leagues Cup.
Oh, yeah.
Miami and Nashville are both in. That also needs to be taken into account. Nashville's ahead of us in the Supporter Shield standings, but they're already in. So it would go to the next person. So and Open Cup winners get in. So like there's a
I see what
bunch
you're
of different
saying.
ways to get in.
Wow.
As
Yeah,
long
so
as we
they changed
stay
it from league to
consistently
cup
good.
and then changed the meaning of champions to water it down.
Yeah, it's
The
no
somewhat
longer
champions
champions.
cup.
It's it's the CONCACAF Decent Cup.
The CONCACAF Bowl.
Personally, I think our chances for the rest of the season hinges on one question, which just happens to be our third storyline for this week's game, Darren, which is
So
this.
convenient.
Yeah, isn't that crazy that it works out like that?
I can't believe it worked out like that. That's so
The
cool.
way that I'm thinking is the third question, which is this. Just how healthy is Carlos Vela? He went down against Juarez 2 weeks ago after scoring 2 of the best goals of his LAFC career. It really felt like Carlos Vela was back. In fact, I tweeted it moments before he got injured. But against Monterrey, his absence was really felt. We lacked some of that creative playmaking in the midfield that he's secretly been really helpful for this season. And his clinical finishing would have been really helpful when we were close to getting that third goal and we couldn't get it. When we don't play Carlos Vela, we are playing a team with a single designated player, which is infuriating every time it happens because most teams have 3. Our team builds intelligently and doesn't waste spots, but when a DP goes down, boy, do we fucking feel it. Plus, with these extra 9 days off, thanks to our loss in the Leagues Cup, we might finally get to see Mario Gonzalez with a more fluid understanding of our game plan so he doesn't, get in the way of a shot during his first game and then they make all of the fans hate him. It wasn't his fault that we lost, but boy, is that a very visual example of us not liking someone. I still have a lot of faith, especially now that he's got some more time to practice with the team. Darren, Vela's been a roller coaster of a player this season. How are you feeling about Vela and Gonzalez for the rest of the season?
Gonzalez, I'm excited to see him do what he does. I hope he does it. Vela, to be honest, like after the panic we went through at the beginning of the season, I'm kind of just happy that we're in a place where his absence matters to us. Like the fact that we missed him feels like a good sign at this point, that he's back to the point where he's missed when he's gone. Even saying that feels harsh at this point, but I do remember how bad we thought it was at the beginning of the season. So
did you see that one rumor? Some place put up a rumor that Vela wants to go to Miami. If that's true, if he goes to Miami, I don't know how. I think we would burn BMO down. Like not us. I think all of us would lose our fucking minds.
And no, we wouldn't be there. For the record, that's not us committing crimes.
And we're not saying do it.
Not us.
We're not saying do it. But if one does it, it would be understandable. But I don't condone it.
Boy, yeah, that would be. Oh boy, I would be upset.
I don't want to even talk about it. I just want to say that report was out there. It was from a website I'd never heard before. That was like MLSinfo.biz. But so we did a deep dive on the Colorado Rapids, our opponents. Last time we played them, the episode was titled Into Thin Air. You can go back and listen. And
Good
Darren
title.
talks about Colorado a little bit with his interview with his much more successful old friend. So I'm not going to get into Colorado now, but I want to talk about the last storyline of the match, which I actually think is going to define the game this Sunday. And I left it for last, but I do think it's the most important, which is this. Just how much will the hurricane affect this game? Hurricane Hillary will hit Southern California on Sunday night as the first tropical storm to hit our city since 1938. That's right, Darren. Hurricane Hillary. It's time to Pokemon Go to the game. Here's the
I'm
current
just chilling
forecast.
at BMO Stadium.
I'm just chilling at the Berea stand. We love Bernie here at the pod. Here's the current forecast as of Thursday. I voted for Hillary, but I voted for Bernie if you guys want to know, that's what I voted for Bernie the first time in the thing. What is it called? The primary. Then I voted for Hillary. Okay. Hurricane.
I voted for Bernie also, but both times. Okay.
I don't believe that, you fucking Blue Lives Matter piece of shit.
Oh, right, sorry.
You voted for Gary Johnson.
I'm conservative, but weed's cool.
Okay.
Can we get everybody here?
Here's the current forecast as of Thursday night when we're recording this. Heavy rain will hit LA from Saturday through Tuesday. We don't know if it's sustained, but rain's going to start Saturday. Storm winds will peak around midnight Sunday into Monday morning. And as you know, Darren, as a man of the East Coast, hurricane strength is determined not by rain, but by wind strength. And they're anticipating
That's
that
true.
tonight, Thursday night, the storm is going to become a Category 4 hurricane, which is a massive hurricane, but that's before it gets to us. We don't have to worry about that. But a Category 4 winds are between 130 and 156 miles an hour. But don't worry, it'll weaken before it gets us. The water's much cooler. That will help. I think Cabo is not in as safe a shape as we are. But most models say it will weaken to a tropical storm by the time it hits us directly. And the direct hit will come right around game time. And tropical storm winds, while that doesn't sound as scary as a hurricane, are between 39 and 73 miles an hour. 73 is the top of tropical storm. So we'll probably be by the lower end, but there's a world in which we're going to get winds that are way higher than any of us are used to here in LA. So expect power lines down and potential fires because of it, because of those high winds. Just some things to think about that I've been thinking about nonstop since I heard about this hurricane. So it's Thursday night, Darren. Things can change, but we know it's going to be rainy on Sunday. That's not in question. It's going to rain for the game. We've played in the rain before. The real question is, will there be lightning to stop the game? And will the wind be a factor when the ball goes in the air if the game goes on? The storm should intensify as the game goes on as well. So be prepared for it to get worse the longer you're in the stands. So be safe, be smart, never drive into like a flood waters. And 3252, bring a change of clothes. It's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
I'm realizing why you gave me your tickets for this game.
I was hoping you would say it because it's true. It's true. Have fun. Well, at least you get to go to the press box. The press box, you'll get cover. You don't have to sit in the seats.
Yeah, maybe I'll just do that.
I told you how horrific it was. Like, and then I was like, you can go to the game. It'll be fine.
Yeah. I was like, oh, Travis is still recovering. Oh, man. I hope he feels better.
Drive safe, Darren. Good luck. When we come back, Darren interviews his childhood friend, the sporting director of the Colorado Rapids.
He is the former VP of Analytics and Application at StatDNA, former Assistant General Manager for the Colorado Rapids, current Sporting Director at Colorado Rapids, and least interestingly, my childhood friend and soccer teammate, Fran Taylor. Fran, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Darren. Good to see you.
You too. I'm very glad that we can do this. It's been a lot of fun to see your rise in pro soccer. I want to get into that whole trajectory. We've seen each other a few times over the years, but not much. It's been a long time.
No, I didn't even know you were living in LA.
I know. You went to school near here, didn't you?
Much less running a podcast. Yeah, Occidental College.
Yeah.
I made my escape quickly as I could. But
I actually do remember seeing you back home at one point. Maybe I was like excited about the possibility of going to LA at that point for myself. And I was like, oh, you're near LA. How do you like it? And you were like, I don't really like it.
that sucks. Bye.
It's not great.
We have a great group in Colorado. Forge is great. Robin and the coaching staff are great. The scouting team is fantastic. So I couldn't ask for a better environment to work.
Oh, awesome. I want to start at the beginning because we have the rare opportunity that we can here. We grew up, I thought about, we run a lot of teams together. We run a lot of soccer teams together.
I think it started in, I want to say first grade.
Maybe, yeah.
Head coach Jim Duggan.
With our friend's dad, Jim Duggan, coached a legendary run of rec soccer league teams. Really started playing soccer on Easy Street, I guess, and didn't really realize that losing was a thing. We were undefeated for like 4 years in a row.
I realized that our dads didn't have to coach us, right? Like
right,
we need to hire a professional. And I think you were the first one. Darren was a Brookline youth soccer legend, and was the first one to kind of go into the more club proper environment with real coaches.
I did. I was obsessed with soccer. The problem was that I just got too into it and burnt out eventually. But yeah, there was a point where I was playing on like way too many teams at once, and it was a dumb thing to do as a child.
Well, there was baseball.
And then there was baseball,
And
yes,
then baseball
which
team.
is sort of what I point to when I don't want to admit that I did burn out and just was no longer good at a certain point. I'll be like, oh, I got more into baseball. But really, there was a point where I want to say like 8th grade where I just fully peaked. Maybe before that even. It's funny because I think what you're doing now is like very unsurprising to me because I'll say Fran was always one of the best players on the field and always one of the smartest players on the field. And I know there was a period of time where I knew that I was just no longer very good. And I could tell, and I knew you could tell, and maybe a few other people. And there was a period of time where I was like, I'm still fooling most people though, until I just kind of ran myself into the ground and it was over.
You put it this way: you were the DH on the baseball
I was
team,
DH in
right?
baseball, some
So
conceptual equivalent in soccer for a bit.
Imagine David Ortiz. Imagine David Ortiz on the soccer field. It doesn't necessarily work.
I like to say that I developed other interests that I cared more about. I think it's just that one of those other interests was food, and that kind of soccer's not I was able to make that work for baseball pretty easily. You can do that for baseball.
Yeah.
It's a lot more lenient in that way. But yeah, I think you staying with soccer is not at all surprising to me and has been very exciting to watch. Tell us about in adulthood what your journey has been like bringing you to this point.
It's very unusual, crazy, and fortunate that I am where I get to be. I always wanted to be. I probably wanted to be a baseball GM. That was my thing. So Theo Epstein was legendary general manager of the Boston Red Sox, and then he goes to the Cubs. When we were in high school, I want to say he became the youngest general manager, which I believe he still is. Or his record stands as the youngest person to ever be a baseball general manager. And I believe he was 28 when he got the job. So as a, 15, 16-year-old baseball player, probably my better sport at the time, and he was a Brookline High alum, and his brother, Paul, was head coach of the women's high school team at Brookline High. So there's a lot of Epstein family stuff going on. He would show up to our baseball games. I wanted Theo and managed to find a way into soccer. I played soccer collegiately, wasn't very good. Played at the lowest level of professional soccer that you can play in Southeast Asia, and Laos wasn't very good. But
I mean, you can't not be very good and play even
by
at
the
that
standards.
level, I feel like.
By the standards that we like, I can hang in a staff game, right? But like that's the extent of it, right? I am not. You would not call me having a soccer background, right? In terms of the context that we work in.
Sure. Yeah.
So my kind of wild and crazy journey was coming out of college. I just wanted to get out of the country. That was important. I wanted to work abroad. Toyed with the idea of going to South America and working kind of like on a botanical garden in Ecuador. Ended up getting an opportunity to start up a data project in Laos in Southeast Asia. The hook that the company that brought me out there used was that I would teach the youth soccer, the American youth soccer system to Lao youth. So I did all this work with my club coach to kind of build a curriculum and go out there. There's absolutely no infrastructure for me to do that. But as it so happened, my former boss, Jason Rosenfeld, has the idea to digitize soccer matches. And the first thing that we tried to do was start doing more kind of advanced analytical models off of stuff. So we're thinking about what kind of information we collect that allow us to take kind of soccer stats, which at the time was really just kind of like passes, possession, shots, and stuff like that. Very, very basic stuff to really start understanding what kind of actions are unlocking value. And so one of the first things that we started collecting was information on where defenders were and where pressure was coming from, which those things, if you're going to digitize soccer matches, you better digitize where the defenders are, right? Mm-hmm. And how quickly they're coming to close the ball. And so we kind of built some of, what now is fairly public in the soccer analytics domain. We built some of that stuff in 2010, 11, and then ultimately, we have a company, StatDNA, which was acquired by Arsenal. So kind of out of nowhere and without kind of any planning, I would say, the Arsenal analysts room with a bunch of really great people that are now in really prominent roles. Arsenal Football Club and Jason Nato, Ben Napper, Mark Curtis, guys that, at the time, probably all 25, 26, 27.
Wow.
So through Arsenal with Crumpy Sports and Entertainment connection, I jumped over to the Colorado Rapids when I met Corey Smith at a Crumpy MIT Sports Analytics Conference dinner for, the different Crumpy clubs. And he invited me to come over and be his assistant general manager. So that was in 2018. And I've been here since.
So as sporting director, I don't know how standardized this is across the MLS or across clubs across the world, but like what is within the scope of your responsibilities now?
I run the scouting department. I run the analytics department. I negotiate, I would say, most of our contracts. I negotiate most of our deals with clubs abroad. The president of the club manages most of the relationships with the other chief soccer officers. So if we want to do a trade, we've done a lot of trades with LAFC. Or call it John, you would do a deal for a player like Kellen or Mark Anthony K. And I do most of the foreign players.
Interesting. Okay. Where do you see the state of the league, the Rapids? Like, how are you approaching the rest of this season?
I'd say it's incredibly exciting to kind of watch the meteoric rise of the league. I don't think people know quite how strong this league is financially with respect to Europe. Whenever a lot of resources or money goes into something, it takes time for the level to kind of catch up, right? Like if you're ever bringing in new money into a club, it takes time to deploy that money effectively and get the team to kind of the best level it can be. And I think that's the same with a league, where it's made up of 29 teams. And so we're kind of in the stage in which TAM was rolled out, exploded in 2018. You're now going to have the salary cap go up significantly over the course of the CBA, which I believe ends in 2027. And I think when you see the effect of Messi that he's having, I think you're going to have a lot more interest from owners possibly. And this happens at a different level, but owners potentially wanting to accelerate the growth of this league. And so we're already in a spot financially where I think a lot of clubs have a financial muscle that would push them and will push them to a higher level. And the talent level is now catching up. The fact that when you compare how MLS teams did to Liga MX teams in the Leagues Cup and how they have done in the CONCACAF Champions League, that's the great barometer to kind of compare the development of this league is against the benchmark of Liga MX teams, and MLS teams have done fantastic. I think we have some catching up to do with some of Europe's leagues, but that's just going to naturally happen by the way in which, as this league grows, as the financial and resource commitments that ownerships are making, you're going to see that the league is going to continue to improve its level. So I think that's really exciting. It's a great place to be as an employee. It's probably a great place to be as a fan, to watch this league grow so quickly.
Yeah, I do wonder, you mentioned the time that it takes to like put things into practice. If you could go into a little bit more detail of like, you've been at the Rapids a few years now. What does that timeline look like for, here's what I think needs to change. Okay, we can actually make those changes. Now there's like tactics that reflect the changes that we wanted to make. Now those tactics are actually working. Like how long of a timeline does that take?
Like we spend a lot of time, wondering, well, why are we not very good right now? Why have we won only 3 games this year, right? We won the Western Conference 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. And 2 years before that, we were bottom of maybe second of the Western Conference, right? So we've been all over the place. So I wish I had a straight answer for you as to kind of, we have had different kind of grand designs, which we've kind of had to kind of try to alter. So I guess the best way to kind of describe it is I'd say, so I joined in 2018, right? And there were plans and preparations before that. In 2018, when I arrived, we had Tim Howard and Scales and Gashi, who, were fantastic players at points in their career, but had gotten to a point where they were maybe, they weren't at their best, right? And they were, taking up a considerable amount of their two TPs and amount of our resources. And so we knew for about a 2-year period, we weren't going to have a whole lot of flexibility to play with. At that time, it was the start of kind of the TAM era, where you had all this, kind of what I was talking about, all this new money coming in. And so you had a lot of clubs going out and spending that money on players in Europe or South America who were going to command bigger wages and transfer fees, things like that. And they were going to displace a bunch of established MLS veterans or players, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we placed a bet based on kind of our resources, our lack of flexibility, and the direction that other teams were going. We placed a bet against. Essentially, that was, okay, you want to place the bet on the foreign guys coming into the league. We're going to place the bets on guys that you don't think are good, or you think you think the players that you're bringing in are going to be better. And so we bring in players like Keegan Rosenberry from Philadelphia, who was rookie of the year when he came through. We had probably played 100 professional games at that point. He was always fit. He was always first selection at Philly. Diego Rubio. AC were just about to go and spend $10 million on Alan Pulido. We brought in, I wouldn't necessarily say Kellen Acosta was displaced by foreign investment, but there was a market opportunity for Kellen. We made use of the draft, traded up to get Andre Shimashiki, who was a player who did well and became rookie of the year. Austin Trusty from Philadelphia United was maybe a little bit later. Kai Kamara was another kind of MLS veteran, still had time left. So there was a real kind of, I'm sure I'm forgetting certain players, but like there was a plan of taking the opposite side. We went heavy on domestic players with established track records, and we had quite a bit of success. I don't know if we felt, we obviously there was some decent luck involved in that. I don't think someone like an Austin Trusty was at an interesting place in his career where he had been pretty much frozen out of Philadelphia. And I certainly wouldn't have been able to tell you at that time that, hey, we're going to turn this guy into a Premier League player. But that's where he is, right? He's going to play for Sheffield United in the Premier League this year. And he's part of the A group for the U.S. men's national team. So the bets that we placed, we thought they were good bets, and some really hit.
Yeah, sounds like that strategy worked immediately.
No, and it took. I mean, we were horrible at the start of 2019, right? And the roster was sad.
Okay.
We didn't win one of our first 13 games, maybe. And then we made a managerial change, and Connor Casey goes on a bit of a run as the interim. And then Robin Fraser comes in as the permanent, and we take it even to another level, and a level that we sustained for, let's say, 2.5 years, where we were either the second or third best team in MLS over that period of time. We sold some players to Europe. Austin goes to Arsenal. Zane Bides goes to Antwerp. Cole Bassett goes to Feyenoord. Kellen Acosta goes to LAFC. And the players that we brought in those various positions to replace them haven't quite hit the levels that those guys have hit. Now, it's a bit fair to say, right? Like, when Austin Trusty's going to go to Sheffield for $6.5 million US, like, there's not a mechanism. And I think LAFC fans are like kind of familiar with this, but like when you sell players abroad, the league kind of restricts the ways in which you can kind of redeploy that. You're allowed to take $1 million in allocation. So if you sell a player for $6 million, you've really got only $1 million to kind of put back into the broader team. So there are challenges in reinvesting on your successes.
What happens to the other 5 in that scenario?
So it goes into your ownership's pocket, right? And so
that's what I figured.
Your owner can then spend that on, say, a DP or U22 initiative player, but you can't like Austin Austin was he was on, I don't know what his cap charge was at the time, maybe 400,000 a year, which is a great cap charge for kind of a tier A center back. We've got center backs in this league that are making $1.5 million a year. You have a 400K center back and you sell him. Like, it's not easy to redeploy that.
Yeah.
In that same kind of.
But it seems like there is in the MLS, and maybe this is just sports, like maybe this is not really a thing, but like there's a kind of a high cost to success. It doesn't seem like you should have to start with as much of a clean slate as teams are kind of stuck doing in this scenario. I mean, I remember toward the beginning of the season when we were watching LAFC and Bouanga was playing out of his mind, and we were like, oh, I hope it doesn't play too well, because then like there's too many eyes on him.
I think, a great example that's kind of in the public domain at the moment is Georgi Petrovic at New England, right?
Okay.
He's come in there as a pretty unproven goalkeeper and has been nothing short sensational, to the point where you have teams from the top 5 leagues offering some reports like $8 million, which of course, like, given where he is in his career, right? He has a path to go straight to the top. Take it. But New England are in a position where, like, they're in a good spot, Eastern Conference. They've got some ground to make up on Cincinnati, but they feel like they've got a shot to win Supporters Shield, and that they have a good spot in the playoffs. Like, who knows? They can win this cup, right? And so they don't want to move on from him now, because they know they cannot, in the short term, like, keep the level of the team out. There's no move they can make in which they replace Georgi Petrovic with the resources they're going to get from Georgi Petrovic.
How unique is that as far as sports goes or soccer goes?
Soccer goes, and say it's pretty unique. Like, if you look at it at kind of a macro level, like MLS is a growth league, right?
Yeah.
There's tons of investment across the league. We have some of the best facilities, stadiums, training facilities, all these kinds of things. Right? Owners are making losses, but the value of this league is skyrocketing. So to some extent, if you sell a player for $5 million, $6 million, it may not really matter. Now, every owner is going to be different, right? Every ownership group has different objectives and different business model. But what I would say is there are probably certain owners in which, they don't really care about losses, because it's all about growth. It's about the growth of the league, and they feel like performances are more important than player sales. That is very rare in football abroad. Yeah. We are one of the most well-capitalized leagues in the world. So, we're from that perspective, I think we're very different.
That makes sense.
It provides unique challenges for, like, when we're in the player development space, right? Because there's going to be a natural distrust of, at least in certain players, like, hey, look, if I do get to the top and I do earn myself a move to go to a higher level, like, are you going to keep me or not? Right. And I think one of the things that we've always felt like, we want our players to go to the highest level that they can. And we want to augment that, not hold them back. Right. But we also have to strike the balance. We too want to win. Nobody here is purely in the business of developing players. We all want to win. And that's just a challenge that we have to live with.
Right. I do want to get into the matchup in front of us with LAFC and the Rapids. We've faced you guys once this year so far. How do you see this matchup as far as the way that the two teams generally play? Like, what kind of game do you think we'll be looking at in terms of tactics? Are there any particular things that you're looking or hoping to see beyond just like general results?
We're hoping to see a heavily rotated LAFC side that wants to lick its wounds after a disappointing League's Cup exit.
It wouldn't be the first time.
I don't think we've won at the bank ever.
Oh, okay.
It's not a place that I'm feeling very confident about going and getting 3 points from.
That's fair. It's not, I mean,
look, we have a ton of respect for what the front office in LA does. And I think, like, guys like Bouanga and Vela get a ton of credit, and they're very, very good. But I think what LAFC has done so well is they use all of the mechanisms of player recruitment, right? I think what they've done so well is the kind of the non-DP, non-U22 initiative class has been fantastic. So players like Tillman, Bogusz, Poku, Maldonado, Atuesta when he was here before going to Palmeiras, like, Mario, like all these guys were probably sub-$1 million transfer fees, lowish salaries, don't take up a lot of resources, and have become like frontline players, tier A type of players in MLS, and that's not easy to do. So, when we talk about before about like how it's hard to replace successes to maintain continuity over success. Well, if you keep finding cheap but very, very good players, you will continue to have success.
Yeah, that's the sort of the antidote. Yeah, that's interesting. What about just like style of play in general, in terms of how the Rapids may match up with what you're used to seeing from LAFC?
I wouldn't say it's anything too. We'll be cautious going to a place like Vancouver. I think you guys are absolutely lethal in transition. Blanca does his best stuff in transition. So I would see us try to go and not use the ball in bad areas. Something that we struggled with, but I think that would be a key. It's like if we lose the ball and Blanca's got the ability to, in transition moments, just getting behind us or get at us, like those are situations we want to stay out of.
So someone on that note, I'm wondering, for someone like a casual fan, if you're just looking at box scores,
not a lot of good stuff in a box score.
What should people be looking at if you missed a game and all you can look at is stats? Like, what's the best way to tell the story of that game?
It feels lame to say expected goals, but like that's the best that you will get in a modern box score, because essentially what you're trying to do, right, is you're trying to take away the margin of error of what can happen in a game, right? So like the obvious thing is like, okay, you lose 3-2, but the opponent had 3 opportunities where they got into a dangerous situation and they've converted from all 3. Doesn't tell the story of the game, right? But there's a ton of error around the fact that they just got lucky. 3 opportunities. And so you want to take that out, right? But you can still have a situation in which like team creates 3 big chances, right? Racks up like 2.5 expected goals, and they score 3 goals and they win 3-2. So you can still have error associated with that effort. So you want more things that contextualize the game. You want metrics of success around how teams did in every phase of play. Where did they recover the ball? How successful were they in kind of build out phases or in transitions, right? And that's not in the public domain. So that should be exciting for potential analytics goers, because there's a lot of work to be done to really bring out context and develop next level stats.
Can you just break down what the hell expected goals is and what factors into it?
So you can take data that has a bunch of, imagine you have an Excel sheet with a bunch of events in one column and a bunch of features at each moment of time, at each one of those events, right? So let's take shots, right? So take every shot that happens in the game, and you have certain information around that. So where the goalkeeper is, the angle of the goal that you have to work with, maybe the player's momentum, the direction that they're going. You might know something about, is the ball sitting on the ground? Is it kind of in a position where you're going to have to half volley it? Is it a headed attempt? You might know something about where the position of the defenders are, how much pressure they're applying, how far you are from the goal. This is all, or in maybe like how many defenders are kind of obstructing potential shot, right? Mm-hmm. These are all data points that we all know as we watch a game are relevant to how easy it is to score from a moment, right? So we might look at a situation and say like, oh, he has to score that, right? Because it's through on goal and there's no defenders in it, right? Or we might say that's a half chance, right? So we know this intuitively. You can take this information, you can run it through a computer algorithm, and it can estimate how likely you are to score. If you use information that's just like, okay, the player was here in this location and have no other context, your model's probably not going to be very good. But if you have all of the bits of information that I kind of referenced before, you can actually get pretty accurate models. Now, there's going to be certain things that are hard to represent in data, right? So like if we're talking about the trajectory of a ball being whipped into the box that a player needs to strike first time on goal, you might be able to say, okay, it's a first time chance, but to measure the trajectory of the ball so you can know if you're hitting it at the right angle or whatever, that's very hard to do with data. So you're always going to have a little bit of error in your model because you can't get all of the context into your model, but you try to do as well as you can so that you get as great of accuracy.
So when you look at an expected goals stat, are you seeing, is expected goals really just the concept? Can you look at it and know exactly what metrics are being factored into it, like what the list is? Or is it really just like a model depending on who's giving you the data?
I mean, it depends on kind of what your data provider is, right? So
Got
if you're working with tracking data,
I thought it was simpler than that. I thought there was like a set, like it's this, it's, OPS or in baseball, or like it's like this plus this divided by this. It's like, it's really like full on complex models.
yeah, there's no formula for it, right? And there's a formula for OPS, but if you were going to start doing, I don't know baseball analytics super well, but right, there's all things with like pitch effects and the rotation rate and stuff like that.
I don't either. I shouldn't have
now
taken
you're naturally gonna have different models now because there's
so much to capture.
Isn't a formula. It's not on base plus slugging, right? Like there's a formula for that.
Well, this is why expected goals is useful, right? It's like actually there's a lot of useful data being factored into it.
But I would still say when we think about how a soccer game went for our team, we don't think about how good were their chances. It is a factor. We think about like, all right, we had better chances than they did, right? But it's more than that. It is control of the game, certain elements like did we leave ourselves vulnerable in transition moments? We set out to construct the game from the back and play through the lines. Like, did we do that or did we not? Those are all things that we think about. And so if you don't have metrics that reflect that, you're not doing everything you could be.
Yeah, it's such a rabbit hole. I imagine that it takes a lot of control and work and focus to be able to know, now that you have access to this fire hose of an insane amount of data, what to do with it.
I still think it's, as this league spends more and more on players, it becomes important to spend more and more on accuracy. We have 3 guys full time on analytics at this club that have really strong skill sets. Like they were all here making less money than they could in the public domain because they're passionate about what they do. And there's real talent that they've got. So there's real resource that I think can be deployed on this type of stuff and you can get performance out of it. Yeah.
3 strikes me as like not a lot. Is how common is that number across the league, do you think?
I would say probably 80% of clubs have 1 or 0.
Are you serious? Oh, wow.
I mean, everybody keeps it close to the vest, right? I think we do good work here, but
that's surprising. I mean, 3 was like, there should be more than 3, right? But sounds like people don't even do that.
More than 3 people focus on analytics. I'm happy. I'm very happy I've got 3.
Yeah. That sounds
I feel like we're in a really good spot. And it's not numbers too. Like you need hard skills. Like when you're working with tracking data, you need people that know how to structure a database properly to use like the computer resources that you have. Tracking data is like 25 frames per second. So 90 minutes times 60 seconds times 25. And then you've got 22 players. So that's 22 observations per frame. Like that's a massive database and you need people that know how to do that. And generally they go to work for Google
right.
or Facebook. And so like, we're really happy that we were able to get 3 guys at that talent level. It's fantastic.
All right. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer. You've been very generous with your time. I am so glad that we got a chance to reconnect. And I love that you're a part of advancing this league forward. It's been a lot of fun to watch. So thank you for that. All right. When we come back, we're going to make some bets. And we're back. Now it's time for a segment called Bet It and Forget It. Every week, Travis and I end the show with a bet. Wow, I blew it.
Been a while, Darren.
It's been a while.
Bet it and forget it.
Fuck.
Leave it in. Keep going.
Okay, I'm gonna start over.
Bet it and forget it. FC Cincinnati, I can't believe I'm saying this about this team. They were so bad for so long, but they seem to have the makings of a really solid team now after a couple of years.
All right. You want to just start from the beginning?
And we're back. Now it's time for a segment called Bet It and Forget It.
Bet it and forget it.
Every week, Travis and I end the show with a bet for this week's games.
Bet it and...
Sorry. Just start from every week.
Every week, Travis and I end the show with a bet for the week's game. We make an outlandish prediction for that week, something that almost definitely will not happen, but could. Each week, we both put up $5. If no one hits, the money rolls over to the next week. Eventually, by the time someone's weird prediction comes true, they might win a good chunk of change. And we haven't talked about it since a wild turn of events when Travis's bet cashed at $40, but then he got COVID, and heel of the foot Jeff Talk swooped in to guest host the next episode and run away with Travis's winnings.
Classic heel move. He owes me $40.
Big heel energy from Jeff Talk. He also, on the same episode, made an, of course, terrible bet on Travis's behalf.
Wouldn't expect anything less from an absolute moron.
And that did not cash, of course. Neither did mine, but that was a great bet. So we're up to $20 in the pool this week. A fresh start for both of us.
Darren,
Travis, welcome back to the segment.
Thank you. I do feel good that I won Bet It and Forget It, and it's now 2-1. I want you to know I've won twice this season. You've won one time.
A brace
Something
for
to
Travis.
think about. A brace. A seafood buffet.
I don't think about it much.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it in your face. You do. But I have a bet this week.
I'm gonna get a beer real quick because I'm just not very interested in your
okay.
Bet.
Wow. All right. Well, my bet this week, Darren, and you might be interested to know, I'm very confident in this bet. I'm very confident.
Oh, you're confident?
Yeah, I'm very confident. And I think it's actually going to hit. Like, it's outlandish, but sometimes you just feel it in your fucking bones, and this is going to hit. Are you ready?
All right. You seem confident.
I feel very confident. And it's this. Mario Gonzalez brace.
Ooh.
Mario Gonzalez, home debut, brace. We don't count the Rose Bowl as a home debut. We hate that fucking stadium. His first game at home, Mario Gonzalez, 2 goals. What do you think?
Wow. I love that bet.
Especially after kind of a weak performance in his first game, you know?
Yeah. We also have not yet talked about, we don't have to belabor it, but I do want to say out loud, fuck the Rose Bowl. Oh, I guess we did a post-game show. But I really think if that game was at BMO, we would have won.
We had no home field advantage. We didn't. Fuck the Rose Bowl.
I'm so upset. I'm so
never
upset.
Play there again. I know people from LAFC listen to this fucking podcast, and I like you. I'm happy that you do. I'm happy that you do. We're friends. Tell whoever the fuck you can, we don't want to play there anymore. Please, for the love of God. I live 10 minutes from the Rose Bowl. I don't want to ever go there again.
Actually, I will say I do want to avenge El Tráfico there.
Do it at SoFi. Do it like there's just the vibes are off, man.
SoFi.
The vibes are off. Play it at the Coliseum next to our fucking stadium.
Yeah, I always wondered that. Why can't we play at Coliseum? It's so much fun.
What's your bet, Darren? We're running real long today.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My bet is way more outlandish than yours, but
well, should I make mine more outlandish?
Well, hear mine, and then you have a number-based bet. You can always just go up or down. My bet is it will not rain before before the final whistle. During the match, there will be no rain.
You're going against America's meteorologists. No rain.
One of which, after that segment, is you. After that full weather report.
Well, the other thing is my wife is flying back to LA on Sunday, and we were trying to figure out when she should fly. And the answer is she's not going to. The flight's going to get canceled, but we'll see.
Wait, she's flying back to LA. Yeah.
So she'll probably land in like Arizona or some shit.
Another vacation.
Okay. Your bet is quite outlandish because it's.
I fuck with God, Travis.
Yeah, exactly. You're like going and there is a storm. You're like a flat earther. Okay, Mario Gonzalez hat trick is my bet. Hat trick, right. Mario Gonzalez.
Not this weekend, Noah.
And listen, you're saying that there can't be a drop of fucking rain the entire game. Drop. Is that right?
Not a drop.
Man. All right.
And whatever does happen, they'll still overwater the pitch. It's gonna be pouring, and they'll be like, gotta get it watered.
No, we can't be this mean to LAFC. We love you. Okay.
Yeah, that's the second time. We do love you guys. We just desperately look for anything we can make fun of.
Listen, that's our show. Let's get the fuck out of here. Also, everyone like clean your gutters and stuff. There's a hurricane coming.
Tape your windows? Is that still a thing? Just a reminder, we'll be streaming our post-game call-in show 10 minutes after the final whistle of the match on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@happyfootsadfoot. There's a link in the show notes. Talk to us in the chat. We'll post a link. Join us live on the show. Everyone is welcome.
Thank you to Fran Taylor for joining the show. Our theme music is done by the insane team of James Valentine, Nate Walcott, and Louis Palmer, along with YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and maybe Facebook. And honestly, I don't think Threads anymore. Is that still happening? And if you made it this far into the episode, chances are you're enjoying the show. If that's true and you want to support us, help us keep making it, please consider becoming a friend of the foot at just $5 a month. That's 1/10 of what you pay for parking at BMO Stadium. You can do that at patreon.com/happyfootsadfoot, or you can pick up some Halfo Sappho inspired merch by going to happyfootsadfootpod.com. I'm wearing a beautiful new t-shirt from the store about the I Love Soccer Leagues Cup shirt that the Leagues Cup released, and it says I love the I Love Soccer Leagues Cup t-shirt, and it's got a picture of the I Love Soccer Leagues Cup t-shirt on it. I'm very proud of this shirt.
It's the perfect shirt that you can buy if you host an LAFC podcast.
Get yours before a cease and desist makes us take it down. Any support really goes a long way to keep the show going and the community growing. Thanks again. And Darren will see you in the rain at BMO, baby. I love you.
I'll see you at BMO. I love you.
I love you.
Big announcement
Bye.
coming soon. Oops.
Ooh, I love you. Bye.
I love you. Bye.
What announcement is it? Bye.
Ooh, I don't know. Bye.
Ooh, cutie pie. Oops. Oops, all
Not
announcements. Oops, bye.
Oops, all announcements.
Oops, all announcements.